Hey everybody, Jeff Antoniuk here. Welcome to Digging Deeper Jazz video. So today, Rhythm Bootcamp. Now this is actually a drummer's video. So if you're a jazz drummer out there getting started with this stuff, this is gonna be fantastic comping stuff for you. Here's the thing, for the rest of us, horn players, singers, piano players, whatever it is, I want us to have control over what I just played there. That was a little bit of a Mercer Ellington song called Things Ain't What They Used to Be. Triplets. So I want us to have this sense of how we can have triplets in any position of the measure. That's what today is about. You can see on this sheet, we're going to take a group of 3 triplets and move it through all the possible positions in the measure. It turns out there's 12 places a triplet can be in a measure of 4/4. So we're going to take this 3-note unit and move it around and get used to this idea. Now, here's the thing. Why are we doing this? Why am I torturing you with this today? Over the years, I've listened to and sort of placed people in an audition sort of setting, over 1,000 people, whether it was at the university I used to teach at, or whether it's the summer camp that I've done now for 15 years, Maryland Summer Jazz, or whether it's people coming into jazzwire.net and wanting to see where their playing's at and get their playing evaluated and a practice plan, or a student that sits down for the first lesson and says, hey, let's play. That's my job, is to hear where people are at and to pick the one thing. That's the way I look at it. What is the one thing I can pick that is going to make this person better faster? That's my job. That's what I do for a living. And I can tell you, after doing this about 1,000 times, the rhythmic aspect and being able to subdivide and find those triplets is really one of the biggest blind spots of so many people. So this is a pretty important video. So let's jump into this stuff here. So I'm just going to play a B-flat concert on this rhythm. So we're just starting on beat 1 and playing 3 triplet notes. Why 3 notes? It could be anything. 3 notes is simple. It fits inside a beat. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, dot, dot, dot. 3, 4, dot, dot, dot. That's simple. Now, as a drummer, you're going to be swinging on the ride cymbal and you're going to be playing this rhythm on the snare drum. Dot, dot, dot. As you're swinging. For a lot of drummers, that's not the hardest thing in the world, but you need to make it feel great. It's one thing to muscle out the correct rhythm, but does it feel like it's swinging? That's where we want to get to. So let me play through this, and I want you playing along or singing along or tapping along and see if you can nail this. Here we go. So that was pretty interesting, right? Now, for some of us, we can do this. So here's what I'm going to ask. Follow through the video and let's see how it feels in each of the 12 positions. Is this something you can nail? Now, here's the thing. It's one thing to play the right rhythm, but can you play it in time? Now, I know that sounds kind of weird to say, but I hear people playing the correct rhythm, but they're ahead or behind the time, or that 4th note was a little behind, the 9th note was a little ahead. So it's possible to play a correct rhythm with poor time. It's possible to play with good time and mess up a rhythm. They're not the same thing, time and rhythm. So we're going to be thinking about those two things. Then there's a third thing called feel. There are famous drummers who do not have fantastic time and they have an amazing feel, okay? Those are 3 different things. And so if you happen to be playing the rhythm correctly, how is your time? How is your technique on the instrument, playing those notes right where they belong? If your rhythm and your time are good, how does it feel? Okay? So for anybody out there, the most professional person listening, give this a try. See how you do with it. Let's go on to beat 2 now. right, so before I mentioned rhythm, time, feel. Well, as I was playing, some of those notes didn't come out evenly. The horns, everyone, I'm playing one note, and there was a time when one of the notes was a little soft or a little loud. That control of the instrument, when we start making our instruments play rhythmically like this, we start bumping into airstream issues or hand position issues or strumming issues or picking issues or muting issues. This is a big deal, right? Just playing these simple rhythms on one note is a bit of a butt kicker. Drummers, if you're doing good with this and you can do it on the snare drum, move this to the bass drum. So now your 3 triplets are on the bass drum. Dun, boop, 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 dang, dang, da, da, boop, boop, boop. All right, so try that on the bass drum. Let's go on to beat 3. Thanks for hanging out with me on this. Beat 3, here we go. This is tricky for a lot of us. There's a lot of space, right? I'm playing these 3 triplet notes, but 3/4 of the measure is silence. Are you able to keep your spot? Again, I've listened to a lot of people in their playing, and this ability to know where we're at in the measure and subdivide. To some of us, it sounds like, yeah, sure, that's not a difficult thing. I'm here to tell you, for many of us, that's a big deal. So that's why we're dedicating a whole video to this. Now, there's a deeper level. One thing is, can you play these triplets? The other is, this is the language of jazz drummers, this background triplet rhythm. Listen to Philly Joe Jones, listen to Elvin Jones, and on and on. You're going to hear this triplet language. So I tell you what, if you're a saxophone player, you're a piano player, you're a singer, you're a bass player, this is the language of that person playing the drums who's driving the band. How about if we learn to be conversant in that language, right? So this is deeper than just, can we muscle out some triplets? This is, let me learn how to interact with one of the most important musicians in the band. Let's go on to beat 4. Here we go. Now, beat 4 is interesting because some of these notes start bleeding into the next measure. So it gets a little bit tricky. Let's count along here. All right, I'm glad that you guys stayed for all 12 of these permutations of triplets. Some people bailed out like 3 permutations in. Oh yeah, I see what he's doing, got it, yeah, triplets, blah, blah, blah. Those guys are a drag. Some of them can't play very good, and most of them get lost in the measure. Yes, all those folks that left, I'm talking bad about them because you guys stayed and you want to develop this. So either you can play this stuff and you see there's value in connecting with the drummer in our band, or the rest of us are like, wow, this is harder than I expected. Maybe I need to do something about this. Is this the sexiest thing we could be doing? Is this the coolest thing? Are there some hip licks or scales we could be learning now? Yeah. Here's the thing. People pay me to let them know what's going to make them better quicker. And it's not always the lick or the scale. Time, feel, rhythm. That's where it's at. So this is something to spend some time with. So play along with me. Just go back and take each one of those sections and play along and get it comfortable. Then go to your metronome, and then can you do this for longer periods of time? You could do this with different licks. You could go around the circle of fourths. You could play triads around the circle of fourths. So let me do that example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the second triplet of beat 2, and I'm going to play major triads around the circle of fourths. So here we go. That's hard. I know the circle of fourths. Some of you are still working that. I know my triads. Some of you are still working on that. I know this rhythm, but now the instrument, how it spoke. Some notes were too loud, some were too soft, some were articulated slightly inconsistently. So there's so much we can do. These rhythms actually makes just playing the instrument a little bit difficult sometimes. So thank you for hanging out on this. There's so much that can be done. And as I said a couple times, this might be one of the most valuable things for us to work on. Triplets, the underlying basis of the jazz feel. It's the language of what drummers are working with, and learning for us how to connect with them is great. And of course, for the drummers, learning these comping rhythms in all the positions in the measure. This is a very, very deep exercise. There's a lot here, and I'll just give you a little hint. When we move on into Afro-Cuban styles, this triplet kind of setting, or the 12/8 or the 6/8 time signature, this is what that music, is really about. There's a lot of undercurrent of that going on. There's so much here. So thank you for staying this long. For all you people that jumped out early, all right, thanks so much. Take care. We'll see you next time.